It's the middle of June, 1816. You're a farmer in New England, and you wake up to frost on the fence and a thin crust of snow over what should have been your corn. You tell yourself it's a freak cold snap, it happens. But then July comes, and it frosts again, and August. The crops don't make it, and neither do a lot of people's. Up and down the coast, families are eating the seed they were meant to plant next year, and nobody can explain why summer simply didn't show up. Here's the part nobody in that field could have known. The reason it was snowing on their corn was a mountain on the other side of the planet most of them had never heard of. Let's go back about a year, to April 1815, to an island called Sumbawa. There's a volcano there named Tambora, quiet for so long that people farmed its slopes. And then, after centuries of silence, it explodes, the single largest eruption in recorded human history. The blast is heard over 1,000 miles away. It tears more than 4,000 feet off the top of the mountain and throws it skyward. Around 10,000 people are killed almost instantly, and in the famine and disease that follow, the toll climbs well past 70,000. Whole villages are simply gone, but the mountain isn't finished. Most of its damage hasn't even left the stratosphere yet. Along with all that rock and ash, Tambora injects roughly 60 million tons of sulfur high into the upper atmosphere, where it spreads into a fine haze that wraps around the entire globe. That haze reflects a sliver of sunlight back into space before it can reach the ground. Not a dramatic sliver. The world's average temperature drops by about a degree. 1 degree. That's the whole catastrophe. It sounds like nothing. The kind of difference between two thermostats you'd never argue over. But a degree shaved off the average is enough to push frost into the growing season across the northern hemisphere. And the growing season is the thing every farmer, every animal, and every loaf of bread quietly depends on. Spread that thin layer of cold over a planet, and you get failed harvests from New England to Europe to China, food riots in the streets of France, and one of the worst famines the century would see. That same sunless summer quietly rewrote a few things you'd never connect to a volcano. A small group of writers had rented a villa for the summer and found themselves trapped inside it by the relentless cold and rain. To pass the time, one of them, Lord Byron, suggested they each try to write a ghost story. Most of the attempts went nowhere, but a teenager named Mary Shelley sat with the gloom pressing on the windows and dreamed up a scientist who stitches life out of dead parts. That became Frankenstein. Another guest sketched a refined, aristocratic bloodsucker, the story that helped seed the entire modern vampire genre, the line that runs straight to Dracula. The weather even crept into Byron's own writing that summer in a poem called Darkness, about a world where the sun has simply gone out. The volcano reached into transportation too. With oats failing and hay scarce, horses across Europe were starving and being put down in huge numbers. A German inventor named Karl von Drais, looking at a continent suddenly short on horses, built a contraption you steered and pushed along with your feet. It was wobbly and a little ridiculous, and it was also the direct ancestor of the bicycle. Historians still argue over how much credit the famine really deserves, but the timing is hard to ignore. So step back and look at the whole shape of it. A mountain most people had never heard of clears its throat for a single afternoon, and a year and an ocean away, 1 degree of missing warmth starves families, sparks riots, gives birth to the modern horror novel, and rolls the first bicycle out into the world. None of those people felt connected to each other. The farmer scraping snow off his corn had no idea he was sharing a season with a teenage novelist, a starving carriage horse, and a volcano he would never see. Which brings us back to that field in Vermont, and that thin June snow nobody could explain. They thought they were just having terrible luck with the weather. They were standing in the long shadow of the biggest explosion the world had heard in 10,000 years.